academic and how a pandemic. That's the only way I can describe this, man. Like, this is a seesaw for real. This is for real.
I feel you, man.
I'm testing every creative gene I've got in my body to make things happen. For real.
You gotta do, man. That's unfortunately the situation we're all in right now.
Can't wait for this clear so I can visit you in that new big house.
Whenever you're ready, man.
That barbecue going on.
Alright, let me start with this. Alright, I'm about to start it up. Sorry, y'all. My screen is gone. And hello, everybody. It's your boy, Matpreneur. Excuse me, let me fix my fresh. This is your boy, Matpreneur, Matthew Jean-Pierre. I'm the founder of Galore, and today is Ace the Interview, tips, tricks, and cheat codes. And I have 4 great panelists that's going to talk to us about interviewing, a little bit about resumes. Most importantly, we want to make sure we reach a community that is starving for good jobs, starving for equal access to good jobs. And I believe we have some people on here that's going to help us accomplish that. I'm going to introduce them, and they're going to tell a little bit about themselves to us. First, I'll start with Miss Kori Robinson. How you doing, Miss Robinson?
How are you?
Good, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, so as you said, my name is Kori Robinson. I currently work for the Police Athletic League. I'm in charge of their training and professional development. So we service all of the 5 boroughs. I'm in charge of training and coordinating training and PD for all of our staff citywide. So that's full-time and part-time staff. We currently run a lot of after-school programs and summer day camp programs, so the trainings differ. I've been a not-for-profit for over 14 years, worked, every level of that, so have a lot of experience. I had my own center, so I hired a lot of young people, so I'm hoping I could bring a lot of knowledge when it comes to interviewing and resumes.
So we have someone here who can actually get someone hired. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. I can't wait to dig into your experience. Second, I'm just go around the clock, counterclockwise, I don't know. Mr. Richard Celestin, the inspirational lawyer, please, thank you for being there. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, good evening, everyone. So my name is Richard Celestin. I have multiple professional titles. I'm an attorney. I'm an adjunct professor at 2 CUNY colleges. I've been a vendor with the Department of Education for 11 plus years now, where I provide support services, workshop, counseling to principals, assistant principals, teachers, students, and parents. I'm author, self-published author of 2 books, one of them including a book about soft skills called The Hard Facts About Soft Skills, where I cover various things, including interview skills, and that's basically it. So I'm kind of like an all-around kind of supportive, giving back to the community, helping young people of color kind of person. So thank you for the opportunity to participate.
I like how you wrap that all up into one little nice little jumble mumble. Like, we're here for the people, and honestly, whatever way someone can contribute, it counts and it matters, right?
Absolutely.
So I definitely appreciate you for the work you're putting in your avenue. It's totally dope. I want to get to my brother Andrea Parisia, who's on mute. Brother Andre, you're the founder of It's a Process. You work for Council of Airport Opportunity. Just let's get a quick introduction and tell people who you are.
Oh, well, I think you just said it. I'm Andrea Parisia, the founder of It's a Process nonprofit organization that's geared towards helping the formerly incarcerated. We are all voluntary nonprofit. There's no payroll. There's nothing but the work that's going on and making sure that we stretch it and continue to push that. We support those that are formerly incarcerated. We support our youth by doing mentoring programs. I've written curriculums that
Nice.
based on a lot of the experiences that I've had personally and others, and just the knowledge that I've gained from continuing my education and things of that nature. I'm also the program manager now for the Office of Second Chance Employment, where my job is I am in charge of JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark airports, and getting the formerly incarcerated jobs at the airport. So currently right now we are hiring, but we're going to get to that in a little bit.
Wait, can you tell me that office again? The Office of
Second Chance Employment.
Second Chance Employment. So that's for people who were justice involved, who's been in trouble, let's just say.
Anybody that has justice involvement, CAO will always get different applications. And, you know, with the airport, there's so many different restrictions. There was a lot of issues with that. So what they did was they worked with Port Authority, and they created this program where a lot of the opportunities that we have are landside, so you won't have to go through that heinous background. And, you know, we're just pushing. You know how it goes. We start landside, and next thing you know, we flying planes. But
hey, man, that's what's up. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you for making the time. It's amazing. I can't wait to dig into your expertise as well. Last but not least, my little favorite cousin, my favorite little cousin, whatever you want to call it. I want to introduce you to Mr. Joubert Perpignand Jr. He's family. He's also, you're with Allied Universal, you're a project manager. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, we can start off. I got some big shoes to fill coming after these guys, but
inspirational.
Yeah, but I'm a Navy veteran. Been in the security business for about 17 years now. And you know, right now I'm in charge of the whole project over Allied Universal over at JFK Airport, taking care of landside and airside of that operation and getting people ID'd with their JFK IDs and everything else. Grueling operation, definitely. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, but we definitely, you know, employing and helping youth and, you know, people get out there. I do the hiring, and unfortunately, I do the firing also. But you know,
that's the tough part.
That's the tough part. But you know, giving everybody an opportunity to get out there and get some work is definitely the key.
Thank you. I appreciate you for being. I have a quick follow-up to what you're saying before we even jump into anything. Doing the hiring and doing the firing, you know, a lot of people, they get jobs based off referral, and then someone's name is attached to them, right? So one big thing, you know, the interview process, what we're going to talk about is one thing, but the follow-up, actually getting the job, and if someone referred you is very key. I just want to share this message to our youth. Be honorable. Don't use someone's name because that name is not getting you the job. That name is opening an eyeball for you, and it's up to you to get in. So if you get in, don't detract from that person. That's one piece that I got just from you real quick. I want to share with everybody. All right, thank you, everybody. So out of the group here, is everyone in a position to hire someone?
I am, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I can give a strong recommendation.
Okay.
So part of my job is that I'm the one that, because we're going through the CBOs that are supposed to be vetting for us, but I'm the final one that checks the resumes, and I actually contact every candidate personally and talk to them before I send them their resume to the employer. So.
Okay.
And I'm self-employed, so I don't have room in my basement to hire anyone. So
make that money, brother. Make that money. We can do what we can to help you. Let's go. We need more. I just want to throw that out there. So like we said, today's ACE interview, tips, tricks, and cheat codes. I really want to talk to the youth, those between 14, where you could just get your working papers, and those all the way up to like 24. That's a good range is where you find yourself, is where you become an adult, right? When I was 14, people thought I was 19. So you can always act your age, or act above or act below it. Definitely in the job process, career process, entrepreneur process, you have to be yourself and always try to be above your age, right?
Right.
And I say that because I asked all of you a question before this: how old were you when you got your first job? And it seems like all 5 of us got our first job by the time we was 15, correct?
I was 14.
Right.
14. I was 14.
Yep.
So.
Right, that summer youth came around. My mom was
Summer
like,
youth.
getting hired.
I didn't have the summer youth experience. So how about you, Richard? Did you have summer youth? No. All right.
Nope.
I did the penny saver, and then I had a bike shop on my block in Roselle, Queens. She hired me before I turned. She's like, "Hey, you want to work with me for the summer? Fix some bikes, fix some lawnmowers?" I was like, "Why not? I get smarter and I get paid. Let's do it, right?" And then when I was 14, I happened to be in the mall, Green Acres Mall. and I walked by Burger King. It was my birthday. And they had a sign hiring. So I went up to them. I'm like, I ain't scared of nothing. I was with my mom's. And I was like, hey, can I get a job application? They're like, sure, here you go. I filled it out. I was like, here you go. They're like, can you start tomorrow? I passed out. I was like, yeah. And they gave me my Burger King uniform. And I was excited to have my first job to make income. The sad part, and there's a whole other conversation, I wasn't financially literate. But we're not going to go there, right? We're not going to go there.
That's a whole other conversation right there.
That's a whole nother workshop, absolutely.
Before you
That's a
move
whole
ahead,
other
Matt,
workshop.
you said something important that I think a lot of the youth don't understand. The experience sometimes is more than what you're going to get paid.
Absolutely.
Having to have and start to build that resume and showing the consistency in the resume and taking advantage of those opportunities and actually building real actual references. That is going to be the key. I mean,
Yes.
like I said, we started Summer Youth, and that was when minimum wage when I was there was like $5.15, if I can remember. It was something outrageous. But, you know, it was something I can create a resume. It was something where I can say, hey, you can call this person and they can vouch for who I am in the workplace. And you have to understand, just like when we talk about code switching and being able to, you know, be yourself somewhere and understand the situation, like Matt was talking about, you know, people thought he was 19 years old where he was because of his maturity and understanding certain situations call for certain things. So that's one key I don't want y'all to miss. Please don't turn it down because the pay ain't what you think it is. Everybody don't start at CEO. You know, you got to make sure that you build yourself up. And how do you do that is gain those different experiences, because you never know who you're actually going to even meet at that job that you may need later on.
Absolutely. I had that same experience. I did Summer Youth. I started off as a camp counselor at a school in Queens. And it was through the Summer Youth program, and I stayed with that program for the next year. And then I didn't qualify for Summer Youth after that, but they hired me as a staff for the organization. Mm-hmm. And I've literally been a non-for-profit ever since, right? Yeah. So you know, I went from being their camp counselor at 14 to graduating college. I graduated a semester early, came home to a full-time job, being the director of that site, right? So, you know, literally working my way up and showing, like, coming home every season and being consistent and working there, right? And every time I came home, bringing something new that I've learned in school, and just staying with it and making good connections with people. You know, we hated to go to the city for meetings. You know, I was young and it was just like, go to the city. We're from Queens, you know. But it was through those meetings that I got to meet other not-for-profit professionals and I got to extend my network. So just sitting in a meeting with someone else who ran a program, and I kid you not, 5 years later, interviewing somewhere else, and that very person works at the organization, you know, and knew my work. Like, oh, she traveled to the city. She was always early for all the meetings she came to. So those little things definitely help build you and build your character and build your work, you know, your work history.
Right.
First impression is the best impression. I tell all
the most important. That's the most important impression.
I tell all
how they see you.
Go ahead, Pusha.
How they see you walk into that door, that judges everything. You know what I mean? That's what they use to judge the whole interview. It's how you walk through that door.
Yep.
Your posture,
the posture, the way you speak, the way you, just by walking in, if you're greeting people, all of those things are picked up on. And the interview doesn't start when you sit in front of the person interviewing you. It starts as soon as you walk through that door.
Yes.
And, you know what I mean, a lot of people, you know, don't grasp that. They feel that it's once they sit down at that desk and that's when the questions start, that's when the interview starts. No, you're being watched the minute you walk through that door.
Yeah, everyone has input. You know, I used to do my interviews inside a school building, so I was really cool. You know, they knew I was the director, so the principals knew me, the staff knew me, the security knew me. So when you come in the building and you have to sign in for security, if you come in the building, you're on the phone and every word out your mouth is a cuss word. You don't take off your hat when you walk in the building. You know, you don't have your ID to sign in. I have to come to the front desk and come get you. Like, those are all those little pet peeves and things that interviewers look at it before we even sit down with you. We're like, here we go, right? And, you know, if you're cool with the team, the school safety, they'll call and be like, nope. You know, he gave me a hard time. You know, he had a lot of chat, you know, back and forth with me before you even interviewed. And so, you know, just even before they can sit with you, like you said, you're being interviewed, so to speak, even by different people who have input, you know, relationships that you built.
Take it a step further. This week, I was calling people just to give them a heads up that I was going to forward their resume. And I was calling block specifically because, one, people do not pick up block calls, right? And you never know what number they're going to use or what method they're going to use. And I'm calling, and I'm like, hi, my name is Andrea Parisia. Who is this? What? From where? And I'm like, not what we want to do. And I did that specifically because I know that people don't pick up block numbers. I know that people look at strange numbers. But when you are applying for jobs, you have to know that you may see that number, you may not see that number, and that you don't know who's going to be on the other end of that line. Because there was about 5 resumes that I didn't push forward just off of how they were responding. And even after I introduced myself, it was still kind of like so hot. So I was like, nah, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. So please take it a step back before you even get to that location and stuff like that. Be aware that the moment you start applying, you're interviewing.
That's what I was thinking. The moment you seen that job and it tickles your interest and you get to getting your resume together, that's it. The door's open, the show is on, the lights are on, right?
Right.
And even if you don't get the job, another opportunity might open up in 30 days or less.
Right.
Right?
Right.
One thing, so what is one thing you would say to a person age 14 to 24? Share some of the answers. Someone said be confident and learn some background information on the company you are interviewing with. Someone said the key is standing out for all the right reasons like we just spoke about. Think and plan on standing out as one of likely dozens of interviewers competing for the same position. What makes you different? The key is in the presentation. Lastly, body language, we spoke on that. And then Ms. Kori, you said professional standards have not changed much. What do you mean?
Yeah, so I think that people are surprised. I'm very old school and traditional, although I am an 80s baby, right? So I was raised by my grandmother, and, you know, this might sound crazy, but, you know, I have some of my own moral rules that I use when I interview, and you never know who you're going to interview. So I'll give you one. You know, the organization I currently work for, our ED, is an older gentleman. And I know he comes from a generation where women wear skirts. And although I am not of that generation, I do love to wear pants. You know, I presented myself accordingly, looking at the background, doing my research, and realizing that this man is an older gentleman. If I get a chance to interview with him, there's a standard that he has. And, you know, it might not be right or wrong. That's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about how people grew up in their morals and what they stand for, and you have to know older people. And so, you know, me living with my grandmother, knowing that wearing pants to church was a no-no, right? And those kind of just different rules that are unspoken, but you just know. So I'm very firm that when I'm training on interviewing and when I'm talking about interviewing to our young people, that things that might seem like they're okay now because our generations are changing, still in the interview world are not okay. It is not okay to text, you know, a prospective job person. It's not okay to send an email when you're shortening your words or, you know, writing the letter U instead of YOU. You know, it's the professional etiquette of the past is still very present. And so that's what I mean with that. You know, wearing a suit to the interview is still the standard. However, people can get away with a nice blouse and a pants and or a skirt, but standards still stand the same, that depending on what job you're going for and what level of work you're looking for, even not, you want to overdress, you want to dress to impress, and that's still very much a standard.
And if I can add, I think that the standards, in addition to the standards essentially being the same, it stays the same even though the methods of interviewing are evolving, right? So just because you now have a virtual interview or a phone interview, it doesn't change the same level of standards that you should approach as if you were having an in-person interview, right? So just because you're behind a computer screen doesn't mean that you can dress down or sit down and look like you're on your phone while someone's having a conversation with you or yelling on the side or whatever the situation is, because you wouldn't do that in an in-person interview. So you need to maintain that same level of respect and that same energy when you're having it, whether it's virtually or on the phone or any other method that now technology is allowing for people to basically to perform.
Absolutely. And my biggest pet peeve, I'm gonna jump in, on time is late. So even for a virtual interview, you need to log in and be waiting in that waiting room or whatever the setup is. You need to be waiting for that person to let you in. They should never, ever wait on you.
I agree.
So
Yeah,
I
definitely
hope
agree with
everyone's
that.
understanding. Go ahead, Joubert.
No, I was saying I definitely agree with that. If you're on time, you're late. I heard that too many times.
Yeah.
Because being on time, doesn't allow, you're not planning for something to go wrong in the world, and we live in a world where something goes wrong all the time. Today there was thunderstorms, trees fell. If you plan to be on time, most likely today you were late, right? And that's a big no-no. It's a big no-no. Period.
And it doesn't give you time to, mentally prepare yourself for the interview. You're rushing in. You don't have the time to sit in the waiting room and really take in your surroundings. You know how much I've learned about an organization just by being 30 minutes early, listening to the receptionist talk about the organization or about this person or that person. You get to get a little bit of the culture of where you're going to work before, or potentially work, right, before you actually have the interview. So, interview is two parts. You're being interviewed, but if you're smart, you're also interviewing the company or the organization too.
Definitely. I think we touching a lot on the pre-interview, which goes to say a lot to our audience. Being prepared is probably the number one thing to really set forth. And honestly, before you even see a job that you like, you should be prepared, right? You should have your resume in order. If you're into customer service and you're looking to break into banking, can we use the same resume?
Oh God, I see the things that I seen earlier this week, man. I have a spotters position available. It has to do with construction, and at the top of the resume was like how this man was like a chef and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you're applying for a construction position. We have to revise. We have to make sure that your cell phone number is there. Like I had to call around to some of the partners just to get the person's cell phone number. I'm like, how did you expect me to reach you? Like, what if I didn't want to go through the email? What if I wanted to contact you directly? How was I supposed to reach you? So please, if you're out there and you're listening, make sure that all the pre-stuff that we were talking about, doing your background, making sure you're looking at the company, you know what you're applying for, you know who you're applying for. You need to make sure that your resume reflects that they need you, that you have something to offer. You can't just go applying for a construction job and you telling them that, you was just watering grass or something like make sure that these things are compatible with the position that you want. Please.
I just want to jump in, right? So I know, my resume is crazy because I've done a lot of stuff, and so I get to kind of mold my resume to fit any particular format. So anything I'm applying for, I can make it flow. And I recognize that, a lot of young people have this and we've all been there, right? Where it's kind of like, you need the experience, but no one's going to give you the experience to get the job, right?
Right.
So taking the excellent point that Andre made and kind of, and now what about those young people that want to break into finances, for example, but all they've done is work at Burger King, all they've done is water those lawns. So my thing is, and this is all about being very critical in terms of how you phrase things, right? So like how you describe what your job responsibilities are. Because even if all you've done is work at Burger King and McDonald's and now you want to work for Citibank, you're not going to correlate flipping burgers to counting money. It's hard to do that. But what you can do is describe the job, without lying, describe the job responsibilities that you had at those positions that somebody could sit down and say, I can take what you did here and I can plug it in and see that you're going to be effective here.
Right.
So it's all about how you describe it, the spin you put on it, and being very, very mindful of the words you're using. But again, and I want to stress this out because this is very important. Do not lie. Do not make anything up, because all it takes is one phone call for them to verify that you weren't responsible for counting the money, someone else was, and you were just responsible for dealing with the produce in the back. And now all of a sudden you're known as a liar. You're not going to get hired there.
Right.
Yeah, and another thing, somebody mentioned it earlier that paying jobs are not always the best way to get your foot in the door, right? So, you know, I was blessed in high school to do a couple of internships, and those translated into, you know, other jobs in the field, and where I was able to put that on my resume. You know, I did not get paid for those. Those were learning life skills and, you know, learning to be on time and to, you know, how to write a report and to do these different tasks that I now use on a daily basis. That seems so small to me, right? But those internships really helped me and guide me to where I am. So I always urge my young people, you know, I see a lot of young people, 18 years old, first job, and I'm like, why? Was there not a guidance counselor in your school that you couldn't go in their office and ask to file papers and then ask them for a letter of recommendation when you graduate, right? Like those little things. I remember working in my principal's office as like an elective. I don't even know if they do that anymore, right? But, you know, and I was able to get a letter from my principal saying how good my work was, how long I worked for her, how I dedicated all my free time to the school and community service, etc. So there are always ways, and it doesn't have to be in your school. You know, this is when we're bad at networking. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody whose mom works where, or uncle, or your cousin, or who you know. Where can you work or take an internship that might be beneficial to something you might want to do later?
Right.
Or
maybe even volunteer, because I know with Queens Library, every time there's a job opening, they send me, we get the first notice because we're on that list. But every time there's a volunteer, they send a list out every month of volunteer opportunities. So you can actually do something as simple as volunteer at your library and learn some of these skills that we're talking about to put on your resume. As part of Galore Tech, I'm creating an ambassador program where it's for teens. We have one so far. I have other kids around me, but they're not truly ambassadors. But I want to be able to provide paperwork, right, to that youngster so that they can say, oh yeah, I did summer camp with Galore Tech. We did STEM learning. So I can imagine the skills you learn from doing that. So that's part of my mission. So youth, especially the 14 to 17-year-olds, you need to figure out how to chip in an hour. Literally, I would say a week, if the time allows it and, you know, life allows it. Chip in an hour a week, because at the end of the year, that's 52 hours of giving back and learning, and you'll get a job just based off of that 1 year, right?
I did a speaking engagement for a whole bunch of churches. They had a coalition. They brought a whole bunch of pastors and stuff like that. And I told them flat out, you guys are nonprofit organizations, documented. There should be interns running all through here. Almost everybody I know go to church. There should be something documented, set up through these churches. Not only that, in these churches, there's a bunch of business owners or whatever the case may be. You have the documentation to say that you're a nonprofit. Just should be some of the first things on these kids' resumes, you know, is getting those experiences. If they're going to already be in church anyway, we might as well make sure it's a dual purpose, you know?
Yes.
Because
that's a major thing.
We have to make sure that we do that. And when I mentioned that, a lot of the pastors and stuff came up to me afterwards and was like, you are absolutely right. You know, but we have to, like Kori was saying, we have to make sure that when we're networking, and because network is your network, period. Remember, I told you that. Network.
He said network is your net worth. Figure it out, everybody.
Because when you don't have anything tangible physically, but you have somebody, like Kori said, that has somebody, then you have a whole lot. You know, so you want to make sure, and that's why when Matt said earlier, when people are referring you or using a name, that's why you don't want to burn those bridges. You really don't, because your network will take you further than a lot of different things. Because sometimes there's positions you need to be in that money can't get you in there, and you don't learn that until you realize, like, I got money and I'm still not here. You know, like look at the housing situation right now. You know how many people have money to rent, but their credit is shot? You know, like, so it's these things, we have to look at them and see how they correlate in everything that we're doing. And while you're young and while you're learning and you're willing to engage, you should make sure that you're engaging with people. We got all of these different politicians that are dying for interns, that are dying for extra help. We have these major nonprofit organizations that are always looking for volunteers. We have the churches. You can even volunteer in the NYPD. They got their own little thing. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is that you want to do, I don't want you to say, I don't have no way to get in. You have a way. You have a way. You just have to make sure
Yes.
that you're speaking to the right people, and so that they can put you in the right places.
And be strategic and understand that there's more than one way to get paid.
Oh, talk about it.
Multiple streams of income? Is that what you said?
No, not that. No.
Multiple streams, multiple ways.
No, I'm saying
Trying to take this somewhere else, man.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Matt, you trying to distract us, man. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is that a paycheck is the most common way to get paid, and a lot of young people obviously are chasing that paycheck. But what they're not realizing is that just because you're not receiving a paycheck does not mean that you're not gaining wealth and you're not getting paid in some other way, right? So like what Kori mentioned, what Andre mentioned, what everyone's mentioned so far is like, you got to be strategic. And I know one of the things that I love to do when I want to work with a young person, if I ask them to help me out with something, I tell them, I'm like, listen, and this is to kind of test them. And then I teach them, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to pay you for this, but what I am going to do is my contacts are now your contacts. Do you want to do it? And I know the person is thinking correctly when they sit down and they say, oh yeah, absolutely, because that is way better. I can give you $500 to do something, and when that money runs out, you're done. But it's knowing you got somebody that you can call that's going to genuinely have your back, genuinely listen to you, connect you with other people, help you with your resume, your cover letter, talk to you, guide you, mentor you, whatever the situation is, with or without a title, that is invaluable. You can't put a price tag on that.
No. That is dope. I remember Joubert, I'm not going to say his name, someone that we know in common, but I knew him more, and he was looking for work. And I said, I got my security license. I was like, this was about 10 years ago, right? And I went to Joubert, and somehow he's still in the circle of Joubert. I don't know, he is like, his life has elevated from wherever it was at. I know he's pimping right now. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, he's very stylish. He's getting the things that he wants, not only the things that he needs. And that's a big thing of being ready. If you want to get the things you want in life, you got to get the things you need first. You got to get your bread and butter before you go get the oxtail and the shrimp, right? So I remember our brother, he didn't have no job. He ended up having 2 jobs after talking to me. One of them was with Joubert. Joubert didn't hire him blindly. He had to pass his interview. And here we are 10 years later. My man is chilling. He always mentions Joubert to me. Yo, man, I'm still with Joubert. And that's a powerful, powerful thing. Brother Andre right here. The first time we met, we really I didn't know he was Andre. He didn't know I was Matthew. We was at an event with our friend, and we chopped it up real quick. Then he came and introduced us. I was like, remember Andre? I was like, oh, I'm like, yo. And we talked some more, and I was like, yo, I feel like I'm talking to my little brother, because you are younger than me. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect. I felt like I was talking to my little brother, my twin. I was like, wow, you're doing amazing work. This year, someone needed a name. They needed a soul, and I got an email. Next thing you know, I got a check that 2 months later, okay? And I'm part of a program, which is going to be a life-changing program at the Queens Library. And that's all because when we met each other, we both was presentable to the outside world. We both spoke properly. We was ourselves, but none of us got ghetto, right? Whatever that means. And he was able to help me get a referral, and then I had to work my magic, right? I had to speak to the person. I had to respond. I had to say, hey, I'm interested. Let's talk. And it ended up being a beautiful relationship that's been derailed by COVID-19. But it was a relationship of being ready, being presentable, and then knocking it out the box. It wasn't an interview, but it was I do a lot of independent things where I'm a independent contractor, right? Which is another source of income. And I was able to get that first check. I have 2 more on the way once COVID-19 gets cleaned out of our earth. I want to ask Richard a question. So we have 2 authors here. I'm gonna get to the first author. Richard, you wrote the book, The Soft Skills.
Hard facts about soft skills.
Hard facts about soft skills. And you did say that you have a part in there about interviewing. What motivated you to write that book, and how do soft skills relate to interviewing and getting that job?
Sure. So honestly, the reason why I ended up writing the book is because I've done workshops with young people, and I kind of talked about a lot of the strategies that I've taken. I was never the most academic student, but I was the one that found ways to work connections, meet people, and kind of navigate those avenues. And then one day somebody was like, yo, those are soft skills. And I think that was like the first time I heard that. So when I started doing research, I realized that I've been using soft skills basically like my whole life to kind of help me to get to where I am today. So what better than to write a book about your personal journey and how you can actually turn around and help people out. But really with the soft skills, it's a lot of it is about having the right mentality when you're searching for jobs, the right mentality in interviewing for jobs, the right mentality once you have the job, all the different skills and techniques. Networking is one of those key things, resume development, the emotional intelligence, so how you handle yourself in a professional setting, in a workplace setting. So I basically discuss all of those different key aspects, and it's really not targeted for any group because anybody can kind of like pick up on different things. We're all in the learning process. The day you stop learning is the day you need to just step your foot in the grave, right? Like we learn every single day. The learning process never stops. And so this book was guided towards young people, but anybody could potentially learn from some of the things that I've learned through, some of the mistakes that I've made, and the guidance I've also received. I just kind of openly share it through my book.
Amazing. I ordered my copy a month ago. I'm still waiting for it. I don't know what happened. I'm lying. It was digital.
I didn't do it.
Just real quick, before I don't want to forget, what's the website? Where can they find your book?
So the book is available on Amazon if you look for my name, Richard Celestin, or you search The Hard Facts About Soft Skills. And the website is The Hard Facts About Soft Skills. And there's links to there through my consulting website, so Richard Celestin LLC also has a link to the book website as well.
Oh, multiple streams of income. I love it. It's dope.
You got to do.
Congratulations. Now I want to get to our second author real quick. She's a new author, Miss Kori Robinson. I'm going to pop up on the screen real quick so that the people can see what you... Huh?
You gotta showcase this. You gotta put it. You gotta everything. I
was very modest on my intro, but I guess now I can put it all out there.
Yes, you have to. I just want to show the people what we're talking about, because if you didn't get that first job and gain those experiences, like everything is a chance. If you're lucky enough to go through this experience, hopefully it'll make you stronger for the next experience. That might not be the next. It might be the one that's 10 years from now. And you were ready to do something with your health. You had to do something with being an author. And you've combined those two with... Say the title for me.
So my book is called Ketoification, Navigating the Keto Lifestyle Like a Pro. It basically focuses on the ketogenic lifestyle. It talks about my experience with obesity. So, just for the audience, I weighed upwards of 285 pounds after I had my son. And my health was on a very fast decline. And so I did have weight loss surgery, which, it's not the end all. It definitely helped, but I was still significantly overweight. Did some research, started following some people, and really, got stuck into keto, as we like to call it. And so now I coach people, I write meal plans, and I just decided to put it all in a book to help other people who were, in my situation. Oh, Matt, you want to go to my coaching page? You want to show my before? Well,
sure.
That's not even my heaviest.
Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Thank you. So, not a full-on fitness junkie, but, I can definitely attest that the lifestyle works. I know people who didn't have surgery. If you go further down my page, I actually coached a girl, a friend of mine, and she never had weight loss surgery, and she lost a ton of weight. So, and I'm working with a lot of different people. But, my life is very multifaceted. I'm a Girl Scout troop leader, which is how I met Matt. I have a large troop of 35 amazing Black girls in Queens who I love to say I personally mentor. I mean, I've had my troop for 8 years. I have a girl going into high school last year, and then she's going to college. So we're all like cheering her on. And so, that's one of my passions. Everything I do is for youth. That's pretty much my background. So
that's why I wanted you here. You told me you work with the PL, but I met you at the Girl Scouts. And was talking about all of you here, right? Because we're around people who need employment, or we're around the opportunity of employment. Me, myself, I'm around people that need employment, and my nonprofit is designed to bridge the gap in tech education in low-income communities or those who are have been oppressed in America for a long time. I want to go to Joubert real quick. Joubert, you work with Allied Universal. How do you think, for our youth, for everyone, how do you think the job market is going to shape up in relation to your industry, the security industry? You're over at JFK. Let's talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, the security industry is really booming. Everybody, I know when I first started working security, when I came home from the service, it wasn't paying that great, and we had some definite changes, and the pay rate went up. And after 9/11, it showed a definite need for security, and even private security, and armed security, and there's different facets that you can go into, and everybody just started gravitating to security. I know I was riding this train for a while. I'm talking about living in Brooklyn, going to work out at Hempstead, Long Island, just to make $8 and change. And you keep with it, and you move up the ranks, and I'm at this point now where you can make well over 100K plus working security. Nobody really thought that, doing security back in the day. I know I never figured that. This was just always a stepping stone, like I said, for myself, that I was gonna probably take a city job, or I went back to school, got my criminal justice degree, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna use this, go into corrections or something, and God had different plan. Security took over and brought me to places where I never thought I'd see. When I first started this industry, and even when you hire people nowadays and you introduce them to this world, and you told them what the different assets that you can get from it, getting the different licenses and the different certifications. Like that person you was talking about, put him on, and he got his fire safety license, and he's well known being up there and making some real good money. So security, although they call us flashlight cops in the beginning, and and square badge and everything else, but we're
I never heard that one.
Yeah. But the industry is definitely changing, and we're definitely getting some great pay rates now, and they're covered by unions and everything else. So it's definitely the industry has definitely changed. It definitely has changed.
I love that. I appreciate you. Like I told you, that's my little cousin. I'm proud of where he's at right now. I'm proud of his path. Nothing comes without a bump in the road, or whatever you want to call it. And he's a strong. I don't know how old he is. He's a man, you know what I mean? And his son actually, he's a full-grown man. And I look at other people that are my age. I'm 44. They're not men, or they're not women. They're not who they're supposed to be in normal society, as far as I'm concerned. Is my opinion. His son, freshman in high school, college this year. We're also proud. I know he's a proud dad, and it's amazing he's doing good work. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on it.
2 questions for you. I'm gonna segue from Joubert right into you. Security. You worked. You've worked with people who've been on parole. Someone that has a felony. A lot of people come home and they tell them to go get security jobs. Is that still true today?
Not as much, because things are really changing. But what I can say is, just like Joubert was saying, that they didn't believe that things would be what they are. I believe now, with the wake of everything that's going on, the world is having a different conscience about certain things, And I think that what you're seeing is people are actually questioning the things that they need to question, instead of paying attention to the stupidity of it all. And with that being said, even me, coming home in April 2011, and I had 5 years parole, and I just came from doing 3 years in prison. There was a lot of things that weren't available to me then that are now available to those that are coming home, and that's 9 years. You think 9 years, and you like, hey, but yeah, there are certain laws that have been in place for hundreds of years, So when we start to look at these changes and how rapidly things are changing, like I could say, oh yeah, I wouldn't advise a person to go for security, with a felony, but then tomorrow I might wake up and read something. So I don't even comment. I always tell people, what's for you is going to be for you. I'm a firm believer in alignments and assignments. I'm a firm believer that we don't meet people and go through certain things just for no reason. I'm a firm believer that, what you want to do, sometimes what you want to do may not be what's for you. We all have wants and things like that, but that don't mean that that's for you, And what I've learned through my journey, which is why I named my organization, It's a Process, that life is literally a process, like literally. Like there's so many different variables. And when you were younger, they was telling you, hey, you could be anything you want to be. All you got to do is work at it. And they gave us half the battle, because you can be anything you want to be, but you have to make sure that you're putting in the footwork and the groundwork to do that. So, what we've been doing and what we've been doing with the organization is really just kind of making sure that we're actually doing the work, making sure that we're actually connecting with the people, because what people don't understand is that whether you can use that ladder to go up, or you can lay it flat and it becomes a bridge to something else. So you've got to carry that with you. You got to understand that that thing can be a dual purpose, and make sure that you are continuing to, just allow yourself to grow. And how do you do that? What we've been talking about right now: resources, networking, understanding what's going on here, looking at the job forecast. Right now, if I had the time, you know how fast I would have opened up a cleaning company? Because the moment somebody coughs in your office, they got to shut it down. And we would have been in there with the UV rays and the spray, so these are the things that we have to start. I always tell people, you got to make sure that you're looking ahead. You got to make sure that you're saying, okay, this is this right now, but this may not be like this forever. And that's what I did. I said, you know what? I went from going to parole, reporting to parole, to actually having offices in the parole building, to actually doing work with the parolees, and doing, like, some of my closest friends right now are parole officers, And it's like, when you hear these things and you hear these different experiences, you're like, oh, this could never happen. This could never be. And that's not even the case. You'll find that, like Matt was saying, I was speaking at an event and I told them, one of the biggest issues that I find with people when they're talking about kids needing mentors is some of these adults need mentors as well.
Hey,
they do.
But
that is absolutely true.
But we don't, but it's kind of taboo to tell a grown person, like, yeah, you ain't exactly too sharp or what you need to do, So what they say, let's work with the youth. And that doesn't benefit anybody, because when I sit down with the youth and I talk to them and I sit with them, they're like, wow. And then they go back home and have to listen to certain things that's not correct.
Right.
And I always tell people, I went to go sit down and I was going to get a contract with the DOE, and the lady asked me, well, do you have a bachelor's degree, master's degree? I'm like, no. She's just like, oh, they say that you're so effective with the youth and stuff like that. I said, yeah, I have a PhD in influence. And she's like, and I said, what we have to understand is that our youth are listening to people with no GED, and we're trying to just force everybody with a PhD in. That obviously that's not it. Obviously that we do need to have the skill set, and I'm not negating that, but obviously that's not the tell-all be-all. We have to make sure that people love saying our at-risk youth. I see it now with all at-risk. Our youth are only at risk because they're under-resourced. So until we start addressing these things, then we have nothing to work with, And that's what I wanted to do. And that's why when I mentioned it's a process, and just having that good supportive background, not the yes men and the yes. I'm talking about when I'm trying to make a decision, it's a process, and some of my board members is like, nah, that don't sound like a good idea, Drake. And I'm like, no, let me think about that. You got to have these checks and balances for yourself, because let me explain something to you. They will check it for you. And when they do, it's not exactly a comfortable feeling. So you rather check yourself before you allow somebody else to check you, because it'll help you grow, it'll help you glow, it'll help you move.
Amen. Facts. Thank you. That is so true. Man, I don't know what to say right now. You guys, all of you gave your some good words right there. I was gonna ask, I don't talk about this publicly much. I think, I've been incarcerated. I did 5 years up north. I had 3 years of parole. I've been home since 2001, and I'm proud to say that some people will never know if you just look at me.
Right.
I'm proud to say, hey, you can follow me for a month and you still never know, right? So these are things about growing and changing, and whether you're a youth and adult, you go through obstacles. set a game plan in life. We all need income. One way of income is employment, getting that check, right? Another way is being an entrepreneur, creating multiple streams of income. So no matter what, you have to present yourself as that person if you want it. Am I correct?
That's correct.
I'm gonna ask you one thing, 30 seconds or less. If you could say two things to the people that are listening right now before we go, what are two things that will help them ace the interview and get the job? I'm gonna start with Kori, then go to Richard, then Joubert, then Andre. What, Kori?
Two things: be on time. On time is late, right? So recommendation is 30 minutes in advance, and be dressed to impress. Ultimately, the interview starts before the interview.
Let me ask you a question real quick, and this is for everyone, but for Kori as well, mostly. Rich, I think you said this. We still have to wear a suit and tie when we go to the interview. Do we dress up to the interview, or do we always dress up?
Is that for me or
For anybody.
Oh,
You overdress for the interview.
Absolutely.
You
Okay.
always overdress, and not just for the interview, for the follow-up. Because when they call you back to come get the drug test and everything, don't come in jeans and sneakers because you thought you got the job. You gotta come the same way you came the first time.
Okay.
You gotta maintain that at work. You don't get lazy once you get the job. Couple months in, and dress down Fridays turn into dress down Monday through Thursday. You want that promotion, right? You wanna grow within your agency. You keep your standards high.
Yes. That's what I tell people. Like, I have 15 years in retail. Let me tell y'all, I came home 2001. My first job 2 months later was KFC. I was so disgusted, and I don't want to say ashamed because it's a job, but I was ashamed. But I did what I had to do for those next 2 months, and then I got an opportunity at Target, and I haven't looked back. I've been a supervisor. I've been a manager with Rent-A-Center, Target, IKEA. I've been lucky enough to say, all right, I want to start this nonprofit where you have to be a leader, right? To even put your money behind yourself, you have to either be a leader or you're not, right? And I've been blessed to, I don't know, to make it this far. I definitely want to. Let's go to Richard. Richard, two things.
I think the key is research, right? Research where you're going to interview, research the people interviewing you, research the typical type of questions that they ask you at job interviews, and come in with the mentality of being prepared in terms of that. So research. And then the other thing, which I mentioned in my book, is always be aware of the 5 senses. Present yourself professionally. Make sure you're speaking and you're using, powerful words, and be mindful of your words. Make sure you're smelling proper, not too good, not too bad, and definitely not like something we all don't want to smell like, right?
Right?
Right. So, and then important, which, obviously the times are changing, but hopefully we'll get back to the point where a solid, firm handshake is an essential way to kind of close out an interview. I don't know if we're ever going to get to that. I hope we do, because I'm a huge handshake person, but we'll for now, yeah, we're there right now, Matt, but I'm hoping we get to the point now where, soon, where we can get back to that, because I'm very much about solid, firm handshakes and what that represents. But again, be mindful of the 5 senses and do your research of where you're going, what you're going to say, and how you're going to say it, and how you're going to walk out of that room.
So, thank you. Joubert, what are 2 things you have?
Review the job description. Think about the questions you're going to ask during that job interview. Because one thing is that, you interview somebody, and one of the things you ask is, do you have any questions about the job? And no questions.
How?
But they inside, they got 1,000,001 questions. No questions right there. It shows that, that's a big no-no. Practice answering interview questions. You sit home, you got access to the internet, look up some interview questions, look up some definitely good answers to give. Like everybody said, dress appropriately for the interview. When you come back for the follow-up. One thing we didn't touch on, please, emails on your resumes. Please don't use with your friends, or the email
flamingo dancer at night.com.
We can't have that. I've seen, trust me, I've sat around and I've seen some resumes come across my desk, and the
Chocolate bunny.
emails that people have used. Oh man.
Actually,
I don't even understand how that's still possible because anybody can literally go on and create a Gmail account.
No, I just don't.
Within
It's like
seconds.
and that's it. Like, I don't understand it.
Right, and you know, and that's one of the biggest things, and we actually see the resume before we see the person. So, you know, and that's one of the first things. It's your name, your address, and then your email. So that sticks out like the sore thumb. Understand the STAR standards. You know what I mean? The situation, the task, the action, and the result. You have to be able to close out, like Richard said. You want to be able to close out that interview to seal the deal. You know, to leave no questions in that interviewer's mind. You know, you want to leave there with the confidence that you know you won him over. And if you don't get the job, it's because somebody just did a better job than you. But like you said, you know, the opportunity always leads to a second opportunity. You know, and you use that. Every interview that I've been on, I used as a teaching experience, whether I got the job or didn't, and just learn to tweak something, you know what I mean, and follow up. Just ask questions, you know. When you call them up, you know, you just inquiring about, you know, how you did on the interview. And me personally, I love those phone calls because I definitely help guide the person if they didn't get the position on, you know, what they could have did better and, you know, where they need some strengthening points at. And so they can be successful in the next interview.
It's amazing. That's dope. Thank you. Andre, too, don't be like Joubert. 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, guys.
I would tell you to relax. It is nothing worse than you sitting in front of a person sweating like a government mule. Cool your jets, as they say, all right? Relax, breathe, and also listen to understand. Don't listen to respond, because sometimes words get so jumbled and a person will be like, and then before you know it, you 2 questions deep. You ain't said nothing about nothing they asked, and it just gets uncomfortable. Like everybody was saying, you got to prepare yourself. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. The 5 Ps.
I love it. Oh my God, this was amazing. Thank you, everybody. I feel like I've learned something, and you know, I'm middle-aged. I've had a bunch of jobs. I've been out there, and like we said, firing is the hardest. I had to fire a friend one time. It hurt. But right here, acing the interview, tips, tricks, and cheat codes. I hope that we were able to share some insight from our background and from our life to our audience. Definitely want to thank Richard Celestin, the inspirational lawyer. Can you tell us your website real quick again?
RichardCelestinLLC.com or theinspirationallawyer.com.
Thank you. Definitely want to thank Joubert Perpignand from Allied Universal, where you're at JFK, correct?
Yes, JFK Airport, building 141.
Building 141. Was Allied hiring right now?
Yes, we are. We definitely are hiring.
All right. So if anybody hits me,
AUS.com, I'll definitely fill you in with the info also, where you can pass it on. But we are hiring, and we even help with the security license process and everything. So you don't even have to have a security license to actually come apply. We help you with all of that.
Oh, that's dope.
See, I like that. Removing barriers to getting better. That's what our community needs. And Andre knows what I'm talking about, because we out here in Queens, and we're trying to do our part for what our community needs. And there's a lot of barriers. And, you know, thank you, Joubert. Keep doing whatever you're doing that's making your job fun and helping others, all right?
Definitely.
Since Andre has the phone, Kori Robinson, thank you for being with us. I know your website is KoriRobinson.com. Kori's with the PAL. You are I
am the training and professional development person for the entire agency, but I work really closely with our after-school sites and the team on that side. So we are hiring. We actually are providing services this summer, and I think that they still are looking. So check Indeed, because that's where we usually post for our summer and after school position. We're definitely going to be hiring for after school positions. That's a big deal. You have to be 18 or over to work for PAL.
Is that citywide?
That is citywide.
Perfect.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Also, Girl Scouts, you're with the Girl Scouts.
Yes, I am with the Girl Scouts. Has an amazing troop in Cambria Heights, New York, and our website is girlscoutscandoanything.com. And we're all virtual right now due to COVID. So if you would like to have your daughter join us, you can go online, find my contact information, reach out.
Thank you. I'm gonna say this. My daughter participated. She's 9 in Girl Scouts for the first time. It's been enlightening for her and for us, her parents and her sibling, her one sibling, Aaron. And it's been totally fun. They do coding, they do science. You guys do all this great stuff, and I appreciate that organization is there. And for people who can't get a job yet, you're 13 and under. Look at organizations like Girl Scouts where you can maybe join and get some life-changing experiences. So thank you, Kori.
I was gonna say Girl Scouts is definitely one of the first steps to building your resume. It's a lot of volunteer work, a lot of community service work that we do. As a troop leader, I'm able to write letters for my girls going into different programs, whether it be for their high school, their first job, into college. So it's definitely a way in. So we're really focused on getting our kids in the room and getting them some life skills and experiences.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And then Mr. Andrea Apparicio, oh Lord, founder of It's a Process.org, a nonprofit, also a project manager at Council for Airport Opportunity. And Andrea, I know you covered JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia, which is phenomenal. We have New York City airports covered right here, folks. We have 2 people in the airports right now that have direct knowledge and strings to pull. But it's on you to hit us up if you want to get in. So Andre, real quick, what do you want to say before you go? You got the camera up.
I think he's frozen.
Andre, you frozen? All right, definitely. All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you, Kori. Thank you, Joubert. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Andre. This is Matthew Jean-Pierre, Matpreneur, Galore Tech Incorporated. This has been a chat with Matt Productions. I'm so excited that we had this conversation. Like I said, I hope there's one person to take away knowledge from this. I'm good. I believe our time was well spent. How about you?
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely feel so.
So have a great day. Thank you again. If anybody wants to reach any of these fine people, you can contact me. You can look at the information in the comments. It's all there. Have a great, great day. And let's hope 2020 ends out on.
If you're into business, coding, and being better, follow Matpreneur on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.